Welcome to Dean It Yourself, your one-stop shop for all your DIY ideas. In this video I'll be showing you how to install a garden tap. But before we get into the show and tell, if you'd like to know how things are made or how they work, then you have come to the right channel, because that is all that I do. So if that's of any interest to you, please hit that like button, subscribe and turn on the all notifications so you don't miss any of my future uploads. Now that's been said, let's get back to the video. Garden taps. This is just your standard garden tap. Nothing really fancy about it. To be honest, it looks very similar to the other garden taps, bar the fact it doesn't have any check valves. Check valves you'll generally find a little brass fitting under there. Also, to tell if you actually got a garden tap where it has got a check valve, you'll see something sitting inside there. And what you're actually looking for is something like that. Now, the whole point of a check valve is that will stop any sort of backflow of water into your main drinking water. So there's nothing actually really wrong with me installing this, bar on the fact in England it will actually be technically illegal. Well, not technically, it will be illegal. It's against the bylaw regulations, because the whole point of a check valve is for example, give you a scenario here. It's the height of summer, your garden hose is still attached to your garden tap, it's full of water. For some bizarre reason the mains water has been turned off, you hadn't realized that, you go to use your hose and you're actually at a higher level than your garden tap. So what would happen is all that water inside that hose would then siphon back through the tap and then back into your mains piping, into your drinking water more precisely. Then miraculously the water turns back on. You think, oh, excellent, job done. But you're thirsty. So you go to your kitchen tap, you turn on your cold tap, you get a nice glass of cold water. You think, oh, it's not all that cold, but never mind, I'm thirsty. You drink it anyway, and lo and behold, what you've just drunk is all that horrible stagnant water from your garden hose, which is siphoned back into your drinking water. That's why you've got to have one of those, or have one that's built in. So if you can't find the one that's built in, simply use one of these. These are known as inline check valves. What you would generally do is the pipework that feeds the tap, you'll cut out a small section, obviously making sure that the water's turned off, and you'll fit one of these in place. Now these actually have an operation arrow, so the water will only go through one way. For example, it will go in that way, it will not go up that way. That's why they are needed, because it will stop any contamination. If you don't happen to have one of those, you can also get little ones like these. Now this is quite good because you can simply thread it on to your tap, like so. Obviously put PCFE tape around it. Then that itself, where it's now got a check valve, that itself can then be screwed onto your back plate, and that will work perfectly fine. So that's what you're looking for. Ideally, it's a lot easier if you just have a garden tap with a check valve, because you've got to put that on. It's just another bit of PCFE tape you've got to put on, another potential leak, another potential moving around. So it's just a little bit less hassle. And again, if you can't get to the pipework that feeds your garden tap, then you can't put one of these on, because I really wouldn't put one of these outside. Main reason being, it's only plastic, water will get in there, winter time it'll freeze, then they'll crack, and then it just defeats the object of having them. But now that we've got the technical jargon out of the way, we're now going to get on with the actual install. But first, you must need to turn the water off. There are a couple of places you can isolate the water. You can either go to your main street and turn off the actual main tap that comes into the property. Technically you're not allowed to, because it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the water board, but they generally don't mind because it saves them being called out to obviously isolate it and then turn it back on once you're done. Or the other places under your kitchen sink. That is majority of the places where they can be found, but in new builds, or for example like my property, is I've actually put an isolation valve that feeds the outside tap. So all I have to simply do is pull on my lever valve and I've isolated the water. The reason why I do that, it saves me from actually pulling all the stuff out from under the cupboard and isolating that way, and because obviously then you've got no water through the whole entire house, especially if you've got a combi system. So once that's turned off, we'll then get on with the next stage. So now that you've isolated the water, the next stage is put PTFE on. You can buy liquid PTFE or hemp and Boss and all that sort of jazz. Make sure it's the right Boss though. But good old fashioned PTFE tape, it's cheap as chips. It's like 16 pence for this reel. So always use that. How we actually put it on, if you actually hold the tap in your left hand, put a bit of the tape on the backside and pinch it with your thumb, because that means it will stop it running away. And what you want to do, you want to roll this with the thread. You want to ideally aim for about 6 to 7 turns. With the garden tap, the more the merrier. And there is a reason to this. So I'm going to reel it until I can almost lose the threads. So there we are. Give it a twist. Now if you can see, you can hardly see the thread. And the reason for that, if you only put a couple on and you turn that onto your back plate, you might find where it stops is in the wrong direction. So by putting more PTFE tape on it, you're thickening up the threads, which basically means when you go to tie it on, because the thread's quite tight, you can stop it wherever you want to, and that PTFE will hold it in place. So that's why I put more on. But also you must put the PTFE tape with the flow of the thread. That's a tongue twister, because if you put it back the wrong way, it will just simply unravel as you do it up. So that's another reason why it must go that way, because obviously if it unravels, it's not going to seal, it won't do the job. So let's get on with doing that. That was nice and simple, nice and quick. Just before you start patting yourself on the back, we've got to turn the water on first. So let's go back in, turn the water on, then go back out and have a look at our work, and hopefully it's not leaking and it'll be proper thumbs up. I hope that you found this video interesting. I've got plenty more coming along the way. I'll see you guys then.